especially as someone from here, I have my, I realized I had my biases or preconceptions or stereotypes about what a driver would sound like. And then, so because you use this voice, um, so it's like it doesn't sound like any driver I know. So you're already like breaking my what you call this, like reality. So it's like it opens up a new world. So it's like, I guess I don't know how the experience would be if you're an American, like versus like a Filipino. Like, okay, you have your preconceptions of what this guy should sound like, and then you're presented with this. So okay, so I guess you're forced to open up to a new reality. But it's interesting that you already forget.
I have forgotten already.
It is like yeah, because I'm looking forward to when I could read this fresh. Because right now I tried reading it like a month after I published it.
Right.
It's like I've still read it like a writer.
Right.
Now I'm hoping at some point like I could read it as a reader, because like one of the main reasons why I wrote it is because like, okay, I want to read this book.
Right.
Anyhow, like so. I have like one of the main questions I have for you as a writer. I don't know if you remember, but one of my struggles in writing this is that there's this like a sort of force, like which is like trying to influence me to write this as a sort of like what you call this how do I explain it? There are taboos and there are like sacred things and there are like things you should say as you're trained to say them growing up, no? Like you, like for instance, like heroes, they should be respected and all that. No? Like there's like, you feel a certain limitation in tackling certain subjects. I sense, I suspect you might have felt the same thing because you're tackling like these famous people, Imelda and Corey. I don't know. Did you struggle with that?
Well, I guess in a way, yes, because these two people are very recent. Obviously, comparing to Magellan and Raho Mabon. I guess so. The challenge would be like what, not making this thought of like what would Imelda think since she's still alive, or what would Corazon Aquino's family think about this portrayal of those two women. So those could be a challenge because I mean, back then I was still living outside of the Philippines, but then I would think, what if I go back home? What would people think and all that? So those kind of things do a little bit affect the writing, but you just have to keep like pushing it. But whereas yours, I think yours could be more called like these people in different parts of the world could be considered heroes. So maybe there's more of a pressure for you because these two people's images are quite solidified. I don't know if that's what you mean by struggling.
Yeah, it's like I felt this, no, because like we grew up, especially growing up here, your value system is very like post-colonial nationalists. So I felt that as I was writing this, because I had to make it explicit that my loyalties lay in this story. So like this is all my decisions should be for this story. And then, but they're like, I feel this influences, like it's like this. For instance, I was surprised how prevalent ritual human sacrifice was in pre-colonial Philippines, and not only that, all over the world. Before the actual age, it was like a universal thing. Like everyone was doing it. So, but no one talks about it because like it's now that we're Christianized, modern. It's such a an ugly thing. No? It's like talking about the sins of your parents. No? So that was one thing. It's like, but uh, it felt so right for the story. So I don't know if like but that was one of my main struggles. That but what helped me was like what I call neo-animism. Like so I treat the spirit behind this book as like a entity.
Mm.
And then this is from Liz Gilbert's Big Magic. It's like that's like my creative work playbook for a few years since I read that book. And she considers she does that. She considers like these entities or muses or whatever that inspired you to write something or to create something
Mm.
as like real beings. She treats them as persons. Like she just is up to welcome them or whatever.
Mm.
But for me, it was enough. You are the one I'm loyal to.
Mm.
There are other entities out there
Mm.
that want me to work for them.
Mm.
Um, and but you know, for me to be able to create this, so I have to listen to you and not to the others. So I don't know, like, but that was like one of the main techniques
Mm.
that I had to employ in order to not to protect myself from these other like forces, mimetic forces.
Okay.
This sounds so too weird.
It doesn't. After reading this book, I sort of see that. Now, it's actually very interesting that you brought that up because I know a little bit that you work at sort of like how would you describe that, like a Christian,
Yeah,
mission,
my main work is I'm an entrepreneur,
right?
but like I'm very much involved in a church organization.
Correct.
So I don't know if I guess that would color your interpretation of that book definitely. You know when
A
you read
little
it.
bit. So when I was reading this, I would kind of like usually this happens when you know the writer, right? So you would think, oh, how much of Khalil is here? How much of his background is influencing his decisions? And at first, when I was just reading this, really kind of like leisurely without much critical thinking and just enjoying the book. So I would wonder like, oh, okay, maybe it has to do with his Christianity. I don't really know your beliefs so much, but I thought you were like kind of like I don't know, like quite Christian. And so when you said I don't also know how the neo-animist fits into your beliefs, but so when I was reading this, I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is sort of like a how would you describe that? Like a homage to Christianity, like the founding of Christianity and something like that. But when I don't know if this is probably not a spoiler, but it's in the introduction. It's in the epilogue that this was sort of like not written by Khalil, that this was written by somebody else. So that actually throws in a just a really curveball. Like totally made me think, oh, okay, so actually he's not writing as Khalil, he's writing as somebody else, but obviously written by Khalil. So that to me was really, really like a really good decision on your part as well, because it makes it the whole thing about the Bailan and the Bakunaw, the
Binokot. Yeah.
Binokot and Bailan. I don't know that part of about the history, but it makes it so much more interesting. So now that you even said that, even wow, even I don't know, yeah.
No, actually, that's one. What was I thinking there? Because like, a lot of it was just intuitive, like this feels right, and it's only after that I could rationalize why it feels right, and then like what you call this, basing that story within another reality of someone, a binukot in the 21st century writing it. Why did it feel right? It's well, it allowed me to tell the reader that okay, I'm conscious that this book is like written by someone who is from modernity, trying to understand the past and trying to respect the past. But that writer is also aware of where she's writing from, and you know this one, like the fictional situation here was that this was written by an academic for her sister who's a nun. So it's like, okay, I'm telling the reader, this is gonna be like a Christian perspective, even
Right.
though the writer is very much aware of it, but also like a descendant of these characters. Now, so meaning she's also respects those perspectives, and she is like a academic. It seems like in the social sciences or whatever. So she's very much aware of like these these like how your perspective, your worldview affects your writing and all that. So anyhow, I don't know. I just like, okay, this it just felt right. So
No, I think it worked. I think I love that aspect because for formally it allows you to do all kinds of things. It allowed you to do the footnotes. It allowed you to do other explanations before and after. But also story wise, it allows me as a reader to think of like, oh, what if this was real? That they're really a descendant of the Bailans or the Binukots, and affecting Philippine politics, kind of like the Vinci Code, why it's like behind the scene kind of like work, and that really makes it more enriching because now I have to think of if this if this were real, is the whole Philippine politics really based on this like two clans still working against or together? So
yeah, that was it was also very fun to think about that as a writer. It's like when that reality appeared or that perspective appeared. It's like, wow, it's like I could see Philippine history from a very different lens,
yeah.
no? And it's a lens which is like which is not which is outside the usual mimetic battles of like I mean the usual is like of course the post-colonial nationalists. You have like the what you call this, like the West is like influencing you, or the good influence of the West or whatever. So all these like ongoing battles, and then they like let's like, well, this is an interesting new angle, which like I don't know how these existing perspectives would react to that or whatever. Anyhow,
I love it.
also I think it was my I don't know like, who you were writing this for, or you who was your reader, because I realized that I had two readers in mind. One was like a Cebuano, fairly maybe college graduate, who's literate and all that. But also since I'm now taking my masters, it's like I couldn't not address my fellow academics.
I see.
No, so it's like I was all like,
Yeah, I could see that
diba?
actually. Yeah.
So it's like in order to give myself the freedom
Yeah.
to write that story, I had to cover it with this like self-aware academic analysis. It's like, okay, you will read this, but okay, let me talk to you from this language of like as an academic. So I know it's okay. I know the usual what you call this, the reactions or critiques of this thing, and I will already address them. So that let's move on to more interesting conversations. I don't know, maybe of course I'm just imagining all those conversations, but the thing is like I couldn't not address that because like they're just in my head. My colleagues are in my head. So anyhow, that was my. I don't know if you've like, how did you address that as well? Like, who were you writing to, and how did you like? I don't know if you've ever even thought about that.
I did, but I just remembered something. What you said, being an academic and taking your masters, and that could be potentially a crutch when you have all this kind of like formal training about how to think about certain themes, and especially in history. But I don't think it was here because of the thing that you did, which is to assign like a different writer, Kono, that wrote this, who is actually an academic, because if that was not there and the footnotes, the academic speak was still here, then I could feel like the crutch of the writer being like so kind of like mm, imprisoned in this kind of like way of thinking because you need to like address certain people. So that was the reason why when I was first reading this, I was like, no, I don't like to hear this. But then later on, when I realized that this is not Khalil speaking, or at least not in the way that normally you would do that. So that's why I loved it. For my part, I think I was addressing sort of like a Filipino reader, right? Who would know this background of Imelda and Imelda and Corey already, but just to put them on a give them like a different perspective or experience. But I also couldn't help but think about the non-Filipino reader. And I don't know if that was a bad thing, but it was a practical thing that I had to face because I knew when I was writing this book that it wouldn't be just Filipino readers. In fact, it would probably be less of there will probably be fewer Filipino readers just because of the where it was published. But I don't think that's generally a good thing because I would like to just forget about the reader and just write it for myself. Or for the most part, I think I was just imagining being Lito and writing this for his son. Really kind of like acting that way.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because I had to be Humabon and I had to be Magellan.
Absolutely.
And it was a really weird experience to be those guys for like more than a year. And I don't know how it changed you or how it affected you, but definitely I noticed that I had more agency because like these guys, I mean, these are like imagine a ruler in pre-nation state Southeast Asia, meaning there was not yet a monopoly of violence by the nation state. So meaning who would become king in that kind of situation, so the main insight, I think I mentioned this before, like the main insight I had, which like I had to write this, was like, or at least I had to see this book or have to read this book, is that realizing that Humabon was like a psychopathic Filipino politician, so even more than like the more ruthless than the politicians today, because like you have to be that kind of man to be king, to be a ruler in that world. And if we read the lives of conquistadors, it was also very violent. So it's very, very, very hard for us to imagine a Christian with that level of violence now. But it's like if you have to transport yourself to that world for that to make sense.
Right.
So I had to be those two guys, to be in the academic literature, especially here in Mindanao, is called the Orang Bisar, which is like a fancy way of calling a big man, the Kong Tao. So that's literally the translation. So there's like a whole scholarly
Yes.
corpus about that figure.
Right.
And then conquistadors, like you also have like there's a lot of writing as well about the psychology and the sociology of that world. So, but it was so interesting to like enter those minds. I had to alternate them as I wrote the different parts.
Right.
It's like, and I think it affected me because like during that time I climbed Mount Apo. We've been planning that for like years. I started a new business. I started a book club. So it's like I just had more. It felt I had more agency. It was like if you're like a Raha or like a conquistador, it's like that's what characterizes you. You just do things without any fear or whatever. It's like okay. It's like I don't know if you've experienced that. But that was a interesting experience.
I think that's great. I think it means that you really delve into these characters. I don't think it's been so long, so I can't remember. Um, I don't think I was that much affected, but it's glad I'm really glad to hear that from you,
Mhm.
that's what you felt. And uh, I think one of the really nice things that I experienced from this book is because I've always thought of Magellan being this kind of like just really proud person who went in and thought that he could conquer uh, this new place and lost, right? But in your treatment, I guess because you, I don't know if you it was planned or you really just imagined his point of view and found this sort of like realization for me is that, oh, maybe it wasn't like that. Maybe like you have it in this book, he he knew that he was gonna die. The possibility of him dying was there, but because he thought of himself as like a, you know, like a sacrifice, like how Jesus did the same and so forth. So I think that to me is like a reflection of how well you were able to embody these two characters, Magellan and Raja Humaban. So it's not surprising to me that you said that it really affected you that way because
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the Magellan, actually, if you look beyond the local interpretations,
Yeah.
that's actually a common
Oh, okay.
perspective that he actually had a conversion.
Mm.
Because if you just look at his actions
Mm.
here
Mm.
and his actions before
Mm.
the Philippines, coming here, there's a stark difference because he was like just hanging people, quartering them. He was brutal,
Mm.
and he had to be brutal in order to get to his objective. So he was that kind of man. It's like, he was like just, this is the objective,
Mm.
and we have to make it happen, whatever the cost. And then, but here, if you look at his actions, he wasn't like that. It's like there was a change.
Mm.
There was a change. So, but the thing is, it's like sort of like a bit um, with how we are educated. He becomes the scapegoat. No, he has to become the villain.
Mm.
So in also, like, I'm also studying like mass movements now.
Mm.
For mass movements to work, and a nation state is also a mass movement, you have to have a villain.
Mm.
So the colonialists are our villains. No?
Mm.
So it's like, but it's like before I was so. When I started this, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do the opposite. I wanted to make Magellan like this super like that. Let's make him the good guy.
Mm.
Like, what if there's a book and the protagonist is a bad guy, and the antagonist is the good guy? That was like my original thinking.
Mm.
But then, when I discovered Limpieza de Sangre, so it just made more sense to make the story like, okay, these two guys had their own like what you call this darkness, no? And then it's like white supremacy in Europe it's like okay, that's almost equivalent to like ritual sacrifice here. So they're like a parallel darkness,
Right.
and where I mean they would both undergo some sort of like journey from that darkness.
Mm.
So that was like the thinking behind that. But yeah, like just going beyond again, that was like the entity that was like trying to influence me in the writing, like, and my initial what you call this reaction was to overdo it. It's like, okay, if you're gonna tell me that Magellan is a bad guy, I'm gonna make him a saint. But of course, like I realized that as well. It's like, okay, I'm overdoing this. Okay, it's like the more aesthetic option is to give them both like some evil and some possibility of redemption.
Mm.
Yeah, that was the. I don't know if did you like struggle with something similar, something like that, like I don't know, the trying to, like, for instance, like this Canuel, di ba? This the cult leader.
Right.
Um, maybe I was thinking, like, so one model I was using for this one,
Mm.
because I had to deal with psychopaths, is that the difference between psychopaths and normal people. Because, like, si Lito is like he is like the definition or the exemplar of a normal people from the point of view of, like, this model I'm using of, like, you have the normies, you have psychopaths, and you have the nerds. Because, like, in that model, which I was working on that for a few years,
Okay.
based on the work of this guy named Venkatesh Rao on his, like, analysis of this TV series The Office. So that was this model, like, sociopaths,
Mm.
nerds and normies. I mean, and so the sociopaths, they see the world through the lens of power. The nerds, they see the world through the perspective of, like, what you call this, truth, like science, modeling the world and all that. And the normies is like you just wanna avoid what you call this, conflict. Yeah, it's like let's keep the peace. So I sense like Lito was from that perspective. I mean, like it's also very consistent throughout his, like, even his anger at the cult leader. He never what you call this? It was expressed very briefly, but he never took action at that anger.
Mm.
And at the very end, he was like he kept. So he was the definition of a normie
Okay.
in that model.
Yeah.
Like, you just keep the harmony, keep the peace.
Right.
So maybe that's a reason why I was, like, affected by this, because I had to model these psychopaths.
I see.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah. So
So you were writing from the point of view of psychopaths, whereas I was writing from the point of view of a
Yeah.
normie, right? So,
Yeah, so-
maybe that's why it affected me less because I'm a normie, I feel.
yeah. So, and I was reading this. I was like, I think I was in the middle of writing this. I was reading this, and I was actually thinking, like, I'm writing from the point of view of that evil cult leader. No?
Right. I could see that.
No?
Although when I was reading this, I mean, I enjoyed the way you frame it. When you read this, you wouldn't think that they were psychopaths, right? Because you see their point of views, and so you kind of like understand where they're coming from to an extent. So never did I feel that they were sociopaths or psychopaths, both Machel and Raha Humabon. But yeah, I guess in my book, now that I'm trying to use that model, I think you're right. Lito would be considered a normie, although to some extent also there is he did display some sociopathic tendencies, and there are, I would say, like at least 3 sociopaths there, big figures, and then one would be a nerdy or a nerd.
Yeah. So that was the. I mean, reading this through Raha versus Conquistador, that was like one of the things I noticed. And perhaps, so I don't know if, because no one actually has, what you call this, among the readers, no one has pointed out that sociopathic perspective, or like that they would see, because, like, I don't know if it's impossible, maybe it's impossible that for you to, if you are within that mind, if you could judge that mind as like a sociopath.
Oh, yeah.
Diba?
Yeah.
It's like so anyway, that was my perspective as a writer. No? Cool. Any other, like, aspect you think we could explore in this
Well,
conversation?
Personally, I mean, this is kind of cliche, but as a reader, I always want to know, like I said, the blurry lines between history and what is considered like truth, and what you know you made up. And so No, I just really wanted to know whether it was real. There's so many things that I wanted to know which one you made up. I don't know if it'll spoil the book, but maybe just if I have to pick one, um, is Father Pedro real? He really existed, and he was like a Filipino priest, right? Or not Filipino priest?
He was a Spaniard.
Ah, Spaniard. Okay.
Father Pedro Valderrama.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
he was
see,
the
I
chaplain
see. Okay.
of the expedition. We know very little about him, so it's like that he's Jewish. That's, I invented that. That he was martyred. I invented that.
Okay.
So his whole personality was like we know nothing about him except his name. That he was a chaplain. That he was a
Mm.
priest.
Mm.
He was a what you call this, a secular priest.
I see.
So that's basically what we know about him. Uh, so my principle there was like I'll be as faithful as possible to the written record, which is mainly
Right.
Picafetta
And you
plus
can feel that.
plus the other. But the thing is like what is not written, I'll try to be as wild as possible.
Right, right. That's good. That's a good strategy.
So yeah, that was my. So I was like, yeah, I was very careful with. So if this is written, I will stick to it.
Right, right.
Yeah. So there are a few things there which I tried to like. I maybe three things
Mm.
which I made a speculation or like a strong interpretation towards a certain direction which made the story better,
Mm.
but could still be like interpreted like plausibly.
Mm.
Like for instance, when Magellan, when it's written that he said like, take my head, rather than like sacrificing.
Mm.
But the sacrifice there, what's written is like all the flesh. He was like scandalized by all the flesh that was offered up for the healing of the brother of Umabon.
Mm. Mm.
So it's not written there as human, no. But like a lot of like, but you know, it's like why would Magellan offer his head for a pig,
Mm.
no? So that was like an interpretation, yeah. It's like
Mm.
which I took
Mm.
to make the story better, but you know, it's still I think plausible given as well like the prevalence of ritual sacrifice in pre-colonial, pre-Philippines.
Mm.
When I only found out about that history while I was researching for this book.
Mm.
I mean, I knew about like the pogroms in medieval Europe
Mm.
against the Jews, and so you know there were some converts,
Mm.
Jews and Muslims,
Mm.
but then I think it might have been the first instance of official racism.
Mm.
And then I also had to like empathize with the racist.
Mm.
It's like why would the Spaniards do that? And my sense is that you know these were the guys. So the Reconquista took like 700 years,
Mm.
and then it built this culture of warriors, you
Mm.
know, like nobility and virtue as Christian knights. So it was a very strong culture, and then suddenly, with the new Christian empire, with some peace there, less need for like you know fighters, and then you have the merchants coming in. A lot of them were Jews. They would become wealthy in society. So you could imagine the resentment of these like you know warrior families, yeah. And then now it's like so the ones becoming wealthy now are like this people who never fought and even were from the other side, and so they instituted the Piazza de Zancre, where it's like you know it's like pure blood
Mm.
of like pure Spanish blood. So it's now it's like now looking back from the perspective of like post Holocaust and all that. So it's such an ugly
Mm.
world.
Mm.
But if you erase that and you live in that world, it's like okay, also the consequences here. I mean, like why was our caste system during the colonial era based on race? I mean, you could imagine that it didn't have to be like that, no?
Mm.
So you could trace it from that. So once once I found that out, so I'm sorry to Mujana, but I had to make him white supremacist. But anyway, he had a one. There was also like some sort of like redemption.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Absolutely. I do have one last question,
Sure, sure.
if it's okay. Because when I was reading especially in the first parts, without, I think you mentioned it in the back cover, I did feel some kind of like, I don't know if you intended this, but like movie influences. I think there was Dune. I think you did mention Dune here, right? And what else? But were those kind of like external influences, like you were intentional in doing that, especially with the, I guess, the bylands and the Binukots, this very mysterious like women's society and all that. It was very enjoyable because I was really into doing that as well, not so long ago. And so when I was writing Forgiving Imelda Marcos as well, I did intentionally have a soundtrack in I kept playing it when I was writing
Oh, yeah?
it. I don't know if you knew this. It's not probably not a surprise. It's the Remains of the Day because of the butler.
Ah,
and
yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay, yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's both a book and a adaptation to a movie,
Mhm.
and I just found that listening to this music every day put me in the same mood so that I would write consistently.
Okay. Yes. That's very. I was thinking of so I mentioned Elliot Smith.
Right.
I was connecting it to Good Will Hunting.
Okay.
But Remains of the Day is also the vibe. The vibe is
yeah,
actually, it's like
okay.
the same vibe. You know, like like do you see the one, the connection, the similarity with Good Will Hunting? It's just
Yeah.
the smooth, like normal life kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. Sorry, what was your question? Dune.
Yeah, Dune, and I guess to some
I mean,
extent
yeah,
Da Vinci Code as well.
Yeah.
I mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you noticed that because definitely the Bailan and the Binukot, the Sisterhoods, were definitely based on Bene Gesserit.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. That's like, I was like, there was like this line in Dune, like the Bene Gesserit, like how she, like as a young woman, her power is in her beauty, but as she loses her beauty, she also gains wisdom, which is going to be her source of power as she grows older or something. There's a very beautifully written line in Dune about that.
Right.
I think it was in my it was in
Ah.
my I had this document of like the planning this thing.
Right.
It was there. That quote was there.
And the prophecy, there's a prophecy.
The
here.
prophecy, of course, like that.
Right.
That's
Is that also, that's probably made up,
Mm.
right? There was, or was
yeah,
that?
that's made up. That's
Yeah,
made up,
okay.
definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm glad that you felt that it could possibly be
Yeah.
real.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still thinking about the Binukat and Bylands
Yeah.
up to this point.
I didn't know about the Binukot before I wrote this. It was a surprise. It was
Yeah. The Bylands, you can hear about them from
Yeah.
time to time, but the Binukat, wala.
yeah.
At least not for me.
It's a very like niche academic
Yeah.
study or domain who studied as women,
Yeah.
and it's interesting that there are early depictions of the Blessed Virgin and Jesus, or like stories relaying or like using like Mary as a binukot and Jesus as a datu.
Mm.
And so that was one of like I think in Iloilo. So there's some very like there are papers only few academics would read who tackle that. So very fascinating world.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Nathan, this has been super interesting.
Yep.
Thank you so much for this
Thank you.
conversation. So, awesome. I think that worked. No. All right. So we'll end this recording now.